He looked at me in the eye and he said, "I am sorry." And I said, "You are sorry? Are you sorry for the bombs Boeing produced that kill innocent kids in Rafah? Are you sorry for that too? Like, how can he sleep? This person is a psychopath."
That was Nadia Milleron tearing into Boeing CEO David Calhoun, who she rightly blamed for the death of her daughter. So in 2019, she was killed along with all the passengers in the Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX plane crash. On Tuesday, Calhoun went before Congress and was grilled by lawmakers over some production defects that led to some deadly crashes and whistleblowers that mysteriously turned up dead. Yeah. Now, Milleron, she is, again, she lost her daughter, and she was apologized to by Calhoun. And when she was on CNN, she was asked about that apology to the families of the 346 victims who died in 737 MAX accidents since the plane had been introduced in 2017. And here's her answer.
It wasn't a real apology. So what he was doing is he doesn't want us to know the details about how it happened. So every time your loved one dies, especially in a crime, you deserve to know and you need to know, how did it happen? So it happened through production defects, not just through faulty design. So the AOA sensor on the outside of the plane had a faulty electrical component, which caused the AOA sensor not to feed the right information into MCAS, which caused the plane to dive into the ground. So he doesn't want people to know that. He doesn't want people to know that they cut corners on production, they cut out inspectors, and as a result, there are all these problems in these planes. So the planes that were produced then, the planes that are being produced now, they all have production defects, and these are showing up in real problems that pilots are facing. And two of those problems caused these huge crashes, and another of those problems caused the Alaska Air blowout. So he's covering up by saying, yes, we're very sorry, and he doesn't want to say what they're sorry for and who was responsible and who made the decisions. But only through that can we actually correct the problems.
So look, she is absolutely right. Yes, you have to admit that the problems exist before you can actually fix the problems. If you don't admit that the problems exist and that are actually real, then no, you're not going to fix anything, which is exactly what Boeing is looking to do, is to not actually fix anything and shift the blame. So number one, I want to say how much I love that Abby Phillip had this woman on. Lovely. That's awesome. She is spitting straight facts, okay? The CEOs do not give a damn about what happens to you and your family. It's a great example of it. They care about making as much profit as possible. And that's because they have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize shareholder profit. If they fail to do that, the board will fire them and replace them with someone else who is willing to do whatever it wants. One of the ways to maximize profit, other than getting rid of labor, is to cut corners on production. In fact, one whistleblower, Santiago Paredes, who had worked for a part supplier to Boeing, Spirit, not to be confused with Spirit Airlines, but Spirit was a supplier to Boeing, and Santiago alleged that they were constantly shipping out defective parts. Even when he would stop them, be like, hey, these are bad parts, these are defective. And they're like, no, ship them, ship it. That's it. Wrap it up, ship it, send it out the door. He had led a team of inspectors based at the end of the 737 MAX production line for over a decade before leaving in 2022 because of all the times that he had warned them, hey, we're shipping out defective product, and they sent it anyway. He repeatedly warned superiors about quality control failings, and what did they do? Again, they ignored him, and at even one point, demoted him. So they said, well, you just keep stopping up the line. You're making our jobs a little more difficult. I mean, so what, we're sending out subpar parts. It doesn't matter. We're making our money. That's what matters here, not people's safety. Now, getting demoted and ignored is certainly better than what happened to two of the other whistleblowers. One of them was Joshua Dean, who had died from a sudden and mysterious illness. Yes. And Josh John Barnett, who allegedly took his own life. Very mysterious. Now, that said, Milleron is going to discuss this in this next clip.
John Barnett supposedly committed suicide, but I definitely have a question about that. He supposedly committed suicide after 7 years of harassment by Boeing and the supervisors around his whistleblowing. It was a constant, horrible situation for that person trying to call attention to production problems and defects. And that those supervisors are all fine. They all stayed in Boeing. Some of them were promoted. So, I mean, it's amazing that this guy could say he doesn't know what happened to the supervisors, and he doesn't, and some of them might have been, corrected. Well, not enough of them, because if enough of them were corrected, we wouldn't keep having these problems.
So I love how she points out that, yeah, the supervisors, they're playing ball. They're ignoring the problems because they get paid. They get paid on the output of their departments, and so yeah, they're going to ignore these issues. These are just look, you QA guys. I mean, you're stressing out too much. Don't worry about it. Send it. It's good anyway. They'll accept it. No worries. We get paid no matter what. It doesn't matter if these planes crash or the door blows out in the middle of a flight. Who cares? It's not our problem. We're just getting the money. Get your ass back to work, all right? Make us some profit. I'd stop stirring up trouble, all right? That's the issue. Now, let's get back to Santiago. Again, another whistleblower, right? He did tell the BBC that he is watching his back. Quote, I'm always looking behind my mirror to make sure nobody's car is following me. Not saying that I'm scared, but at the same time, I can't put a blind eye to the reality of what could be. I have to prepare myself for that. So, look, again, you've got a whistleblower that's like, I'm looking out just to make sure that somebody doesn't try to murder me for what I know. Like, that's pretty messed up. Incredibly messed up. So, now, finally, I want to get to the last video here. This is Milleron just going all out on Calhoun.
He kept saying, MCAS is the problem, MCAS is the problem. He couldn't admit that we had production defects that caused the problems with our planes and caused these crashes. He couldn't admit that these supervisors get promoted when they harass the poor people that are trying to make the planes safe, the poor people that are trying to report on problems. So all of the metrics they have in place, they had in place before the crash. The problem is that when they have a rush on production, they have to hurry up and produce the planes. They say to their people, ignore the metrics, ignore the safety metrics, ignore the things we have in place to make sure things go well. No, ignore it all, throw it out the window because we have to hurry and produce these planes. So, and he knows all that. And he's so disingenuous. Like he looked at me in the eye and he said, I am sorry. And I said, you are sorry? Are you sorry for the bombs Boeing produced that kill innocent kids in Rafah? Are you sorry for that too? Like, how can he sleep? This person is a psychopath. We cannot have people running these companies that do not care about human life. We have to have responsible people running these companies.
I could not agree with her any more than I do. Not only is she like super based in calling out the American-made bombs that are raining on the little kids in Rafah right now, but rightly calls out this guy as a psychopath. I mean, yes, they don't care about human life. They don't care. They care about profit. Okay, the system is set up to maximize profit, and we see what happens when profit gets prioritized. Now, look, I worked in a factory. I've worked in several factories actually, and at one point I was a QA person. Now, the defects in things that I've seen, right, that I was told to send out, it didn't actually, because I made car parts. They weren't actually for anything that was vital to the functioning of the car. It's not like working on brakes, right? It's like cosmetic stuff, door trim, things like that. That had a lot of defects in it. And I was like, hey, these got defects. These look like crap. Why are we sending them? They're like, hey, just send them. It's that same kind of mentality. Now, though, and you can get away with it for, things like door panels and such. But at Boeing, they're doing it for very vital aircraft parts that could cause catastrophic crashes and have caused catastrophic crashes. That is just a level of psychopathy that I will never understand. Where it's just like, no. We've got this system. Like, hey, we've got to make this these quotas. Crank out the parts as much as possible. Doesn't matter if they're broken, if they're defective. Send them. Doesn't matter. We're going to get paid regardless of what happens. So that's the problem. People die, and the ones who profit, they always end up walking away unscathed. And again, that's the other issue, right? Hauling him before Congress, that's a start, okay? But I'm afraid that that's like, oh, verbal tongue lashing, whatever, for members of Congress, and that nothing is going to happen. This guy's going to walk away with a golden parachute. I'm hoping that this situation is different. And I'm hoping that thanks to the whistleblowers that are brave enough to step forward, as well as people, parents like Nadia. I mean, she lost her, daughter as a result of this guy's complete negligence. And I do put it at his feet because the fish rots from the head down. You've got these decisions that are made at the corporate level that filter down to the production level. And one of those decisions was to ignore flaws, ignore very significant issues with parts in order to hurry up and get those planes built. And that is the major problem. I'm hoping that this is different. I'm hoping that there are changes and that this man gets held accountable. But at the same time, my pessimism tells me that I shouldn't hold out too much hope that really anything is going to change. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe with the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.